What's going on, everybody? This is Living in Arizona Now, and today we are going to show you the absolute best things to do in Arizona. We went all across the state to put together this list, so you're going to walk away from here feeling like you really know Arizona and all that there is to do for you adventure seekers. Located in the desert southwest of the United States, you will need a vehicle because road tripping across the state is really how you do it. All right, guys, so let's buckle up and head up to Monument Valley. Located on the Utah-Arizona border, this here is the Navajo Tribal Park area, accessible by US Route 163. The major town nearby is Kayenta. Top attractions include the 17-mile drive. I do recommend a guided tour here. Spring or fall is the best time. Now here we are at Fossil Creek. This is a beautiful waterfall setting. People come here for the swimming. You do need a permit to actually hike down here. This is nearby Payson or Strawberry and Pine, making it about a 2 to 2.5 hour drive away from Phoenix. By the way, there are timestamps below and we have almost 90 things to do, so you can bounce around as you want. Here we are at Grand Falls. The best time to come out here to see this waterfall along the Little Colorado River is during the winter months or rainy season, because without rain, there's not much going on there. Here we are at Antelope Canyon. This is another place you will need a permit before you go out here. Probably a guided tour that you book ahead of time. Beautiful maze of canyons out here in northern Arizona near Page. Now let's talk about the Grand Canyon Railroad that begins here in Williams in northern Arizona, and it ultimately leads you to the Grand Canyon. So a great way to get there is by this railroad. But the Grand Canyon is the granddaddy of them all. This spectacular site is one of the 7 wonders of the world. The canyon is around 277 miles, that's 446 kilometers long, and 18 miles wide, that's 29 kilometers, carved out by the Colorado River system. Believe it or not, the Grand Canyon is actually closer to Las Vegas than it is to Phoenix. Next up is the old historical ghost town of Jerome. It's not quite a ghost town anymore. People are coming here for the tourism, but it does sit at around 5,000 feet elevation. It was originally used by Phelps Dodge to extract copper, gold, and other precious metals out of the side of the Black Hills here. Because it was an old mining boomtown that's now been turned into a tourist attraction, you will go around here finding many different haunted or old buildings that people are drawn to. The old haunted hospital has been turned into a hotel. Now here we are at Saguaro National Park. A saguaro is a cactus that can grow up to 40 to 60 feet tall, weighing over a ton. The average saguaro lives 150 to 200 years, and right here next to Tucson is the ultimate place to see these beautiful Arizona iconic cactuses that can only be found here in Arizona. This is considered the most well-preserved meteor strike on Earth, so you'll see this big hole crater, and at the museum at the top you will see evidence that this was a meteor as they show you some of the debris. This is privately owned, so it's not run by the government. Now here we are at Walnut Canyon. This is an archaeological site next to Flagstaff, about 45 minutes away to the east. If you guys want to walk around here into this national monument area, it's an amazing hike. I would suggest doing it in the spring or the fall months. And now here we are in northern Arizona. Again, this here is Horseshoe Bend, which is the bend in the Colorado River that goes from Lake Powell towards the Grand Canyon. But this is a majestic sight. When you're up here looking down, you really see this majestic view. It's so special. And now here we are in Lake Powell, right next to Page. Lake Powell borders with Utah, so most of it's actually in Utah, dammed up by the Glen Canyon Dam down here in Arizona. It is the second largest reservoir in the United States, known for recreational sites because people like to take their boats out on this lake and explore all the hidden caves and canyons. Now here we are in Bisbee. This is in southern Arizona, also an old Phelps Dodge mining boom town, known for the copper that it was extracting. Again, Arizona is called the Copper State because you're noticing lots of copper was coming out of here. Actually, Bisbee at one point in time was so big they almost got a professional baseball team in the 1920s. And just like Jerome, when you go down to Bisbee, not much has changed since the 1920s and 30s. All the old buildings are still intact and in place, and that's what really makes it quite charming. Now here we are at the Lower Salt River, located just outside of Phoenix. It's a popular place with people who like to kayak or do tubing down the river. This is something that's popular during the summertime in Phoenix in particular. It's actually one of the most popular things you'll do. They have the Granite Reef Dam down here, and it's all a part of the SRP, which is a water management system in Phoenix. And then from the Salt River, we're headed down to southern Arizona again, just outside of Bisbee. This here is Tombstone, world renowned for the Western movie Tombstone that you may have seen, where Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, they do reenactments of the shootout at the OK Corral. Also, they've got a lot of historical stuff going on down here. And just like Jerome and Bisbee, not much has changed since the old days. Now we're headed up just outside of Flagstaff. This is another ancient civilization area, Wupatki National Monument. There's actually two different locations of the old historical area that you can explore, kind of similar to Walnut Canyon, although this is more on a plateau. Then in the Four Corners area, just past Monument Valley, is Canyon de Chelly National Monument, out here on Navajo land as well. But they've got some Native American archaeological sites and beautiful views out here in Canyon de Chelly. Looks like it's pronounced Canyon de Chelly, but nope. And sticking to old Native American areas, this here is the Apache Trail that goes from Mesa up towards Roosevelt Dam. Half of the road is currently closed. Hopefully they reopen it, but wow, what an amazing place out here. This is where the Apache Indians were living when the settlers were coming. A lot of people just do this drive to get out of the city and into the great wide open. So coming out here, doing some 4x4ing, make sure you bring the proper vehicle once you get off onto the dirt roads, because the roads do get rough. And speaking of iconic drives, this is Route 66. Obviously it goes across the country, but the Arizona section is very famous. Go to Winslow, Arizona, standing on the corner, or you could go to Williams. They've got some Route 66 stuff all across Kingman. So depending on where you go, you're going to come across Route 66 memorabilia and history. The road itself stretches 2,448 miles, originating in Chicago and ending in Santa Monica, but it's really been replaced by I-10 and other interstates, originally opened in 1926. And now here we are in far northwestern Arizona. This here is the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. This is actually north of the Grand Canyon. Really amazing cliffs, rugged desert. Make sure you got enough gas out here because it's sparsely populated. So coming out here to enjoy places like Lee's Ferry along the Colorado River, a common place where people get on those rafts to go down the Colorado into the Grand Canyon or out of the Grand Canyon. So that's Lee's Ferry right there. Now here we are at the White Mountains, way up there in Arizona high country. This is around 8,000 to 9,000 feet elevation depending on where you're at. We have beautiful towns up here called Greer, Pinetop, Lakeside. A lot going on in the White Mountains. Now here we are at Acrosanti. This is in between Phoenix and Flagstaff. It's a pit stop along I-17. It's an old architectural marvel from around the 70s or 80s, and it's kind of become a museum of sorts because of its unique placement in the desert as well as its architectural design. From Acrosanti, we're going to head up towards Kingman, but we're going to go west again. This is Oatman, known for its donkeys or burros, or if you want to call them by the three-letter word that starts with an A, but it's an old mining town as well. So Oatman, definitely a cool place to go. Mostly notable because of these donkeys, or mules, which are also known as the beast of burden for the miners. Now here we are at the Bullhead City area. Now this is an interesting place along the Colorado River, just past Hoover Dam. On the other side of the river is going to be the old gambling site of Laughlin. Another awesome thing to do in Arizona is horseback riding. We've got plenty of stables. If you go down towards Tucson, they've got dude ranches. A lot of different places to go around Arizona to find horseback riding. Just a simple Google search and you can find it. But a dude ranch could be great for some of you. In far southern Arizona, just north of Mexico border, is the Organ Pipe National Monument. These are kind of like saguaros, but they're a little bit skinnier, and they're a totally different cactus called an organ pipe cactus. A lot of people come down here and bring their RV and camp out for a few days under the stars, enjoying this beautiful desert. Again, a place I probably wouldn't go in the winter or the summer. Now just south of Phoenix is the Casa Grande Ruins National Monument, known for the Big Mud House. This is how the Ho'okam people were living many years ago. They eventually became extinct and were replaced by the Apaches. Quite an interesting place made of adobe mud. Now here we are in Old Town Scottsdale. They consider this the old Wild West. Although it's kind of a new city and it's turned into a luxury area, they do have the Western History Museum if you guys wanted to explore there and learn all about the cowboys of the old 1800s and such. Another Native American site is Montezuma Castle National Monument. This is just outside of Camp Verde and Sedona, and they call it Montezuma's Castle because it's this big cliff dwelling right there along the river there, or the creek as we would call it. And just next to Montezuma's Castle is Montezuma's Well. Some people like to dive down there. I've never done it. And really it's just a big pond for diving, but interesting place nonetheless, because it's out here in the middle of the desert. In fact, the whole Verde Valley is very interesting to explore. Now here we are at the Wave. This is nearby the Vermilion Cliffs. You could kind of do the two in the same, but the Wave is world famous actually just because of the unique sandstone carvings that nature has eroded away. But you do need a permit to go out here. And just north of Phoenix is another ruin called Sears Kay. Out here you can find lots of hiking as well. It's on the way to Bartlett Lake, so definitely check out Sears Kay Ruins for a nice little hike. Definitely bring hiking boots for this one. I recommend going there at sunset. And golf. Of course, golfing in Arizona, very popular. Many different golf courses. I mean, I would say Arizona's got to be one of the golfing meccas of the world, to be honest with you. Phoenix itself has around 200 golf courses in the greater Phoenix area. Tucson also is loaded with golf courses. There's plenty in Flagstaff, so get out there on the links. Staying in Phoenix here, we're at the Tempe Town Lake. This is part of the Lower Salt River system. And right along the waterfront in Tempe, this area is quite new. It used to be a dry riverbed, but now they filled it with water. People go out there in spring and fall and enjoy the river boats, do some sailing even. In case you didn't know, the Salt River used to flow all the way into the Colorado River and into the ocean. They're at the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. Now here we are at the Oak Creek Canyon area. The drive alone on 89A is considered one of the best drives. They've got Slide Rock up here. This is actually one of the most famous places in all of Arizona. It does get a bit crowded on the weekends and holidays, so I would say don't even think about it because you're not going to find any parking. It's going to be too many people. But if you can get there on a weekday when not too many people are there, you'll enjoy it. And this Oak Creek Canyon is located basically in between Sedona and Flagstaff along 89A. Now here we are at the Water Wheel Falls. This is just outside of Payson. A really cool hike. Takes about 15 to 20 minutes depending on how fast you are. Could take longer, but the water wheel is a cool place. Go up there, take a splash in the pond right there at the bottom in the lagoon, and then walk out. And just above Payson is the Mogollon Rim. They also say there's a Mogollon monster up there, although that's more folklore than anything. But either way, they do have lots of elk and bear up here. It's a good place to camp, cool off when it's hot down in Phoenix. The rim is a little bit higher elevation than Payson, probably 1,000 feet higher. Camping up here is great because you can see all the stars at night like you've never seen before. Also, they've got lots of lakes to do some fishing. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. Here we are now at Prescott. Now, this here was the original capital of Arizona when it as a territory back in the 1800s. They do have a historical area down here known as Whiskey Row. So lots of history up here in Prescott, old mining town as well. Out there in the Prescott National Forest, you'll find lots of cabins. People like to come up here and escape the heat in the summertime, get out there and Potato Patch and some of that other areas. They also have Lynx Lake. Lots of people like to come up to Prescott to get on those lakes. Speaking of lakes, here we are at Lake Havasu City. This is probably the most happening lake in all of the state. You go out here in the springtime, in the fall. It's hot in the summer, but they still even get out there on that lake with jet boats and all sorts of activity right on the border with California. So people come from California and Arizona to hang out in this beautiful lake environment right here at Lake Havasu. Further south of the lake, down towards Parker, they have a lot going on. Make sure you rent a jet ski or a speedboat if you're going to go down there. Now here we are back in Phoenix. This is South Mountain. So the South Mountain Natural Preserve, people like to come down here and hike around. Really beautiful views overlooking Phoenix. So if you're planning to go to Phoenix, definitely consider a trip up to South Mountain to do a hike. Really great place up here. By the way, we did make a full things to do in Phoenix. If you guys want to watch that video, I'll put a link below so you guys can check it out, or a link at the end. Now here we are at Canyon Lake. This is again something just outside of Phoenix. Very beautiful lake to go around on a boat. They also have some ferries that you can take around the lake. So very beautiful views out here. Now let's talk about Williams a little bit more in detail. So we talked about it when we were doing the Route 66, but I would say there's a lot of activity going along Williams. As you know, they also have the Grand Canyon Railroad, which we talked about previously, but nice nightlife. It's next to Flagstaff. They've also got some hiking just south of there where they have a beautiful waterfall. North of there, they have some camping that people like to do out at the lakes. This here is Tuzagut National Monument. Again, this is an amazing Native American site overlooking the Verde River, Verde meaning green, Green River, but old historical site right here, Tuzagut. You can check it out when you go up to Jerome and explore around Cottonwood as well. So definitely add this to the list if you're into Native American archaeology. And if you're into art, you probably want to go down to Tubac and check out this area. It's also along the Dayanza Trail, and they have a mission down here called Tumakari, and it's close to Patagonia. Lots going down here, right next to the Mexican border, just north of Nogales. Really a cool part of Arizona to explore. Now we're here at Goldwater Lake. This is one of the most popular lakes for people trying to beat the heat, get out of Phoenix and go out on a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard. Now this is just outside of Prescott. You'll see the pine trees around there. Another old western town that not many people know about is Wickenburg. It's got good vibes. I would say if you go the back route to Prescott, you should probably stop in Wickenburg, get yourself a steak, stop by a saloon, maybe check out the museum there. Really a cool place. The cool thing is the Vulture City Mine was really the original settlement for Phoenix, because they used to grow the food down in Phoenix and then bring it up to the miners in Vulture City, which is just outside of Wickenburg. And now here we are at Madera Canyon. Madera Canyon's an interesting place just outside of Tubac or Green Valley, south of Tucson. Go up in here and it's like an Eden all in and of itself up here in this canyon area. Do some camping, chilling, relaxing. Good place to get outside the city. Down here in southern Arizona, there's a lot of wildlife. As you know, some of these jaguars have been coming up into Arizona from Mexico as well. You don't find them there in Madera Canyon. You'll find those over in Chiricahua, but either way, lots of wildlife in Madera Canyon. Here we are at the Four Corners. When you go out to Monument Valley, you can head out here. This is where Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona all meet, and people like to stand in all four states at the same time. You just got to get on all fours. It's more for geographical reference. Now here we are at Lynx Lake, another beautiful lake to get out there, hike around, explore. This one's just outside of Prescott as well, so it's in the Prescott National Forest. They also had some gold mining going on down here, so those of you who want to do some panning for gold, you may find an option to do that down here in Lynx Lake. A lot of these lakes in Arizona, camping is a big thing to do. It's really a nice way to connect with nature and get all that city life off your back. Now when you're in Mesa, you can go to the Arizona Museum of Natural History and learn about dinosaurs. This is a great place to go for kids. I remember when I was a young kid, this place really piqued my interest just because of all of the history about dinosaurs. Next up, we're here in Cave Creek. Now there is two different Cave Creeks in Arizona. This one is north of Phoenix. It's an old western frontier town as they call it. And going around Cave Creek, you really feel like you're back in time. It's a little bit ritzy because it's a high-end part of Arizona, but they did a great job of preserving the town. It is also a biker town, so they do a bike week up here. They've got Harold's Bar, Buffalo Chip. They've got the Hideaway. Lots of good stuff going on down here. Now here we are at a football game, the Arizona Cardinals. When you're in the state of Arizona, you can check out our Arizona Cardinals play, Rise Up Red Sea. We've got a beautiful stadium now called State Farm Stadium. So if you guys are in town during football season, try to get out there to the Big Toaster. And this is another beautiful lake just outside of Prescott. This one's called Watson Lake. So you're going to see lots of cool rock formations out here that makes this place so unique. Again, a great place to get out and do some kayaking and exploring. And just a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, please do give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We really work hard trying to bring you guys all the information and get you up to date about things to do in Arizona. Now here we are at downtown Mesa. This is a historical place. The Mormons were out here settling this area along the Salt River, and we're here at the Phoenix Art Museum. This is the premier art museum for those of you who love art. You've got to check it out right down here in downtown Phoenix along Central. Now here we are at Biosphere 2, just outside of Tucson. You all remember the movie Biodome? Well, this structure in the 90s was quite famous. It's not as famous as it used to be, but they created an indoor greenhouse laboratory experiment. Now here we are at the eastern Arizona town of historic Clifton. Now out here you also have Morenci, Clifton. Again, another beautiful, old, rustic, historical town. For those of you who want to get out there and explore Arizona, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to get out there and check out these small towns and these historical areas and understand the mining and the history about the great state of Arizona. Because as you can see, there's plenty to do, and there's even more than this as we continue to show you all the places. This here is Mortimer Farms. Now, a lot of people don't know that Arizona does have some fertility in terms of farming. You can come up here during Halloween and go to the pumpkin patch, or even during Christmas and pick up a Christmas tree up here in Prescott area, just outside of Prescott Valley area. But kids love this place, Mortimer Farms. I'd have to say the best museum in Arizona belongs to the Musical Instrument Museum, also known as the MIM. I overlooked it for a long time, but then when I went in there, I was like, this is a really cool museum. Whoever put this place together went out of their way to make sure that all bits of music were included in this. And I would say it's probably one of the best musical instrument museums in the world. And in the heart of Phoenix is a really cool place called the Hole in the Wall or Hole in the Rock. You hike up there, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to get up there, and then you get this great view looking down into the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, downtown area. Go there at sunset, really beautiful pictures right there in the heart of Phoenix. And right next to that is going to be Hunt's Tomb. Now, Hunt's Tomb is interesting because this was the first governor of the state of Arizona, and this pyramid up there at the top of the hill, that's his tomb, just above the Phoenix Zoo. Now here we are in Flagstaff. We call this the Mile High City, even though it's well over a mile high. It's 7,500 feet elevation, sitting at the base of San Francisco Peak, also known as Humphreys Peak. But this is where Northern Arizona University is. It's known as a brewer's town. So if you like beer, go on up here to Flagstaff and chill out. Summertime's a lot cooler than downtown Phoenix, and wintertime it gets some snow. Now here we are in downtown Phoenix. So downtown Phoenix is the heart of Arizona, really. This is where the Diamondbacks play, the Phoenix Suns play. Also, they've got those museums. So lots going on down here. They've done a good job of trying to revamp the place and also keep the historical core intact. And the Suns, they do play there at the Footprint Center, which has been remodeled over the years. They also have concerts there. So downtown Phoenix, really a place for that. And then you can go to a baseball game here to see the Arizona Diamondbacks. It used to be called Bank One Ballpark, also known as the Bob, but nowadays it's called Chase Field. I still think it's one of the best stadiums in the Major League Baseball, but not everyone agrees. But it's a beautiful stadium with the jacuzzi in the outfield. And like I said, the Suns Stadium is right, and like I said, the Suns Arena is right next door, which is equally as ruckus, so good vibes down there. And the main street, along with Central, is called Roosevelt Street, Roosevelt Row as they call it, and they've done a great job of taking this place and keeping the old historical feel while modernizing it and bringing life back into it. Now, get a resort pass and do a staycation. So, plenty of resorts all across Phoenix to check out. Obviously, we've made a video about all of the best resorts in Phoenix, but even Arizona has them in Sedona. Getting the resort pass can really help with that. Now here we are at the Verde River. So hanging out at the Verde River, there's an area that you can go from basically Camp Verde down to Phoenix that's unexplored wilderness. For those of you who are really bold, you can explore that on a kayak or a inner tube. Let it be known, it is rugged. And another cool spot to hang out is downtown Gilbert, also known as DTG, known for the famous water tower that doesn't really have any function anymore, but they've still kept it intact. And this is where they're going to have some of those country western bars. I would say it's like Arizona's little Nashville down here. And you can even go over to the Riparian Preserve and Water Ranch. This is a cool place to hang out. They've taken this area and they've turned it into like a wildlife sanctuary right there in the desert of Gilbert. And I like it down here. If you guys get a chance and you want a little peace and quiet while in Gilbert, go over here and check out the Riparian Preserve. And another Native American site, this one's up in Globe, Miami. This is Besh Ba Gowah. Go ahead and say that 5 times over, but good little spot right there in Globe, Miami. Also gives you an excuse to get out to Globe, Miami. So as you can see, you've got lots of options here thanks to this video. All right, now what do you say we head back over to Prescott and Cottonwood area? This here is Mingus Mountain. This is the scenic road there along Mingus Mountain. On one side, you're headed into Prescott Valley. On the other side, you're headed into the Verde Valley, which includes Jerome, Clarkdale. So lots to see up here, and you go way up into the mountain, quite high elevation. And from the Verde Valley, we're headed now back down towards the Valley of the Sun. This here is Arizona Falls. If you go online and you type in Arizona Falls back, I don't know, old pictures, you'll see some really cool shots of the canal system. As you guys know, the Ho'okam people had a very intricate, sophisticated canal system. This here is a look at the Kitt Peak Observatory. There's a few different observatories in Arizona, Kitt Peak Observatory being one of the best in the country, and you should check out this here Kitt Peak Observatory. Now here we are at Old Town Cottonwood. So Old Town Cottonwood has a lot going on for it in terms of class and culture and feeling. Not too many people know about Old Town Cottonwood except for on the weekends. The locals come out here, but nice little rustic area right along the Verde River. They do have an old jail cell right there in the old town that you can check out. Now here we are at the Hualapai Mountains. This is a heck of a place to explore. There's so many different mountain ranges across Arizona. This one's out there in northwestern Arizona nearby Kingman and Oatman. And if you get out here and explore around here, you can really get lost, and you never know what you'll come across with these old mining communities. Great place for some camping. Again, camping in Arizona, very popular. Now here we are at the Mystery Castle. Now this one's tough to get into because they have some very unique hours like 11 a.m., 3 p.m., Thursday through Sunday, and then last hour at 2:40 it closes. But do check it out. Now here's an interesting concept that they've done out in Gilbert area. This one's called Barn 1. So they've taken these barn styles and they've made them into like shopping communities and also food stalls. And hopefully something like this picks up so we can get more of this across Arizona. It's a sustainable way to keep in touch with our roots, right? Now here we are at Lowell Observatory up in Flagstaff. We showed you Kitt Peak Observatory. There's also one on Mount Graham. But the Lowell Observatory, definitely a very awesome historical place right there along the side of Humphreys Peak. So include this on your trip to Flagstaff, but also while you're up here in Flagstaff checking out the Lowell Observatory, head over to Sunset Crater. Now this is a very volcanic type place. It reminded me a bit of the Big Island when I lived there, but you can go around this Sunset Crater camp. They've got lots going on here, and just looking at all these cinder cone kind of volcanoes on the slopes or the side of Mount Humphreys. Speaking of mountains, the popular one down in Tucson is called Mount Lemmon. The drive up there is absolutely spectacular. It's definitely one of my favorite drives along with the Oak Creek Canyon Drive. So Mount Lemmon, just above Tucson, lots of stops to see along the way. And you'll see once you get up there, they've got pine trees finally as you rise out of the desert valley floor. Here in the Catalina Mountains, they even have a ski lodge up here called Ski Valley on Mount Lemmon. Skiing in Arizona is actually quite popular. They have one in Flagstaff there called Snow Bowl. You just got to make sure there's snow. Now here we are at Chapel of the Holy Cross here in Sedona. This is an absolutely amazing chapel. People go up here, get great views of Sedona. They also get great views of this unique chapel built into the cliffside or into the mountainside. And another thing to do is go to a hockey game. Now the Coyotes, they just moved to Utah, but we still have the Roadrunners down in Tucson, and we still have a few ice skating rinks down here in the desert. So getting out to the hockey can really be a way to cool down and get on some ice. Now here we are at Havasupai Canyon. The big thing to keep in mind about the waterfall, but also the canyon, they have Havasupai Creek. The hike down there from the top is quite amazing. And here's Carefree. This is actually the most expensive real estate zone in all of the state. So alongside Paradise Valley, Carefree and Paradise Valley are two high-end real estate areas. This is actually just next to Cave Creek, also next to Desert Mountain. So if you wanted to see more of this boutique, rustic kind of feeling, Check out Carefree. Now here we are at the Tonto Natural Bridge. This is quite an amazing place just next to Payson on the way over towards Pine and Strawberry. But as you can see, what an amazing natural wonder this is. So come on out here to the Tonto Natural Bridge. And all across Arizona, there's dog parks like this one here called Cosmo's Dog Park. But getting out there, socializing with your neighbors or the local community, bringing your dog along to hang out with everyone else's dog, that's a cool thing to do out here in Arizona. So plenty of dog parks, right? Now here we are in Rocky Point, Mexico, also known as Puerto Penasco. But we call Puerto Penasco Arizona's beach because about an hour south of the border is this beautiful beach community. So just keep in mind it is in Mexico, so be sure to check out any travel warnings before going out of the country. And that's a wrap from Arizona. If you guys enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and watch some more of our other videos. I'll put off-roading and small towns next.